An Indiana family sues vape company Juul over how it markets its products.
Fox 5 legal analyst Wendy Patrick joining us now, breaking down this case. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, what's this lawsuit about specifically?
Well, this lawsuit, like many others, is targeted towards the way in which e-cigarette companies target their youth.
The marketing.
The marketing is designed, according to these lawsuits, towards young people. And they liken it to much the way the cigarette companies used so many years ago. I mean, some of us grew up remembering the advertising.
Right.
But this is a little bit different in that there's also an allegation that it's misleading. There's much more nicotine than necessary if it were to be used by its intended audience. Adults trying to quit smoking. So many of the young people that use it, they've never smoked a cigarette. So it is absolutely misleading to suggest that this is the correct marketing for this kind of a product. It's a nicotine delivery system that takes away some of the stigma traditionally associated with cigarettes. I mean, think about it. It's odorless, ashless, and easily concealable.
You talk about this marketing. I've had multiple conversations, Wendy, with some of the younger generation who are like, it's okay. This is so much better for you to do. So that
tells me the marketing works.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was thinking. Somebody obviously had to give them this information. I'm looking at them going, really?
Well, you bring up a great point, Shali. So it has largely been advertised as a safer alternative to cigarettes. However, many now new health studies are saying it's not necessarily the lesser of two evils. And it's not necessarily ever supposed to have been marketed or used by youth. And that's one of the things that Juul, for their part, is really pushing back on. They are saying they want to make sure that it stays out of the hands of youth. They never designed to market towards youth. But then, let me argue the other side of that rule.
Yes.
You may be asking
Oh,
me
you know I'm chomping at the bit over here.
Why in the world would you market flavors like unicorn, gummy bear, graham cracker?
Thank you. And Juul does that.
They do that, and they use social media platforms where the kids are. So if that's true, that it's only designed to target adults and not target teens, why then are these marketing strategies being used? That's the very supportive counter argument.
I'm not completely up to speed with what Juul does and doesn't do, but you mentioned the flavors. That's them putting those flavors on there.
That's right.
And it does have nicotine, so that's two things. My question now, the kids are sneaking this in their schools. Which company, is it Juul? Which company is making the things that look like a normal pen, like a normal pencil, like a USB thing or whatever they're called?
That's right.
And then they turn into one of these vape. Is that Juul, or is that somebody else using their technology to create a product to deliver this?
Well, there are several companies that do that, and you got to wonder, why would you create something that is so easily concealable? Now, for their part, they're still saying we market it towards adults, but here are some tips for parents. Parents should note that there might be a fruity odor left behind, even though there is you can't see it, you can't identify it, as you just point out. You also might note that withdrawal symptoms could include irritability, really just argumentative nature. That's actually part of what the parents of some of these kids that have been the subject of the lawsuits are stating, is there are really negative health consequences associated with it.
And how can you tell that between they're
being a teenager? I know, and there are not sufficient clues. So those are a couple of things that we're talking about right now. But really, as these lawsuits progress, the FDA on their part is rethinking how they should regulate it. That's a move, by the way, that Juul says they're on board with. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
What happens from here? What are we going to expect to see?
One of the things we can expect to see, Shali, is that there is increased public awareness that Juul cigarette smoking is not as safe as it was marketed to be. That alone, if that is the only thing that came out of these marketing campaigns and the lawsuits being filed, that's a positive, because knowledge is power, and parents and kids alike need to know. You know, the statistics are 1 in 5 young people have smoked an e-cigarette.
That's crazy.
We have to understand that this is not as safe as it was originally marketed. So there again, that's one of the misleading natures of
the minute these things came out, the researchers and the studies get right on it.
That's
well, they're selling this new thing. What is it? Let's study it. And now we've found out that it's not what we thought it was, what we were told it was. And then last week we're reporting on some kid died. The other kid's like his lungs collapsed or something from this.
And more lawsuits are going to be following, no doubt, because we are coming up with some unexplainable illnesses. Guess what? Maybe there is an explanation.
But
it's vaping.
The law is always catching up to the new technology, and the new
technology always outpaces the law. That's what I always say.
Always. Wendy Patrick, thank you.
Thank you.